Little Ham says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Go.
Good evening, folks, and a Happy New Year to one and all, and welcome back to the E-Tim's 23 series of podcasts. Hopefully we'll manage to get at least one a month. That's what we've been averaging, so fingers crossed. As I said, Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks, as always, for all your comments and considerations. I'm glad to say tonight I am joined currently by at least two of our regular panel. Good evening, Hector Bandido.
Good evening, guys. Happy New Year to you both.
And yourself, and of course the man across the water who's just been telling us about a certain scouting mission, but we'll keep that quiet for now. It could be very exciting news coming down the pipe. The man across the road, Monty C. Burns. Good evening, Monty.
Evening, lads. Happy New Year to you both.
Thanks very much for joining us. Monty has literally just finished his dinner, so thanks very much for that. Well, apologies for interrupting. Ralph Malf, we hope Ralph does join us. He did say he should be available, but normally with Ralph, it's not running as smoothly as we hoped. Fingers crossed he joins us later on. And my apologies once again to anyone who's listening who accesses Ralph's daily diary on their mobile and keeps wondering why they see big grey bars on the comments section. We don't know why that is. It's this Ghost in the Machine, Gremlins, and it's over to Monty C. Burns to pay the money to get the guys to actually fix it. But we'll wait and see what comes out of his next scouting mission overseas. So that's that. So moving on, we last met just after the World Cup, when Hector was, of course, still celebrating his beloved Argentina winning the World Cup. So that was good. So since then, of course, we have had Christmas. We had the New Year game against Rangers. We've had various other games. So what we're going to look at tonight, guys, is current standing and the results since we last met. And of course, we're now coming towards the end of the transfer window. So we have had various ins and outs just before the window just as the window started. And then we've got a few exits almost complete. And then I was going to ask us to just have a wee look at some of the form that some of the key players have had, which I think has really been enlightening. Some people have really stepped up to the plate. And there's a few wee comedy items that I'm sure we're all aware of that's happened recently that we want to cover. So I'm going to go for Hector current standing. Right, so current standing, I'm going to read you. I know how you love stats. You're always on Twitter celebrating all these stats, people.
Love it.
So currently on the table, top of the league, God bless it, looking down on the Rangers, 61 points, 69 goals for, 17 against, played 22, won 20, drawn 1, lost 1. Right, so that's not a bad start. Since we last met, we have had a victory over Livingston, 2-1 at home against Livingston with 23 shots at goal. Then we beat Hibs 4-0 away with 20 shots at goal. And we also saw Rocco Vata make his debut. I know you were looking forward to that young man's career, Hector. Then we had the draw against Rangers, 2-2, 1 up, and then we had a mad, brain fart, 15 minutes, and it all went a bit weird. But then we came back to level up and kind of put the air gas in a peep. Then we beat Kelly 2-0 in the league, and then we beat Kelly 2-0 in the cup, and I'm going to come to Monty to discuss just how cold it was that day when he actually came over to watch a game, and Hector and I, who are the locals, decided that this wasn't worth it. And then we beat St Mirren 4-0, and then we recently beat Morton with the aid of VAR, of course, which was a disgrace, 5-0. So Hector, surely no one can complain about that sort of form.
It's interesting, before the World Cup break, we were 9 points clear, and after you've rattled through all those games, we're still, I think, 9 points clear, which is great. I think to have only dropped, out of 66 points, we've got 61. That in itself, results business is terrific. So there's not a lot of complaints because it's about winning. There's a but though, and I'm not sure what to bring up just now because you'd mentioned talking about performance and form. I don't think we've played our best form since we've come back after the break. We've had wee glimpses of it, like away to Hibs. Even then, I think Hibs could have scored a couple of goals early on in that game.
Sorry, I'm just remembering, because apologies folks, it was a while ago. That was the Hatate playing as a defender game, wasn't it?
Yeah, right back. Yeah, and the first wee bit kind of early doors. But I'm not nitpicking, but the game against Command, the couple against Command, I don't think we were that great. The game at Ibrox, I thought we controlled it for the first half hour, 35 minutes.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've played anywhere near our best. And we're still winning all the time. So in many ways, there's a lot of positives to take from that. Because obviously championship form is winning when you're not your best. I think we're still to strike form. Say there's 5 gears, I think we're kind of second, third gear. We're still to go up another couple of gears. And I'm no doubt with Ange that will come. So great, results business, brilliant. But I think we'll improve. I think there's scope for improvement there. I've no doubt Ange, more than us, he expects more improvement over the coming weeks and months ahead.
Yeah, Monty, is that, as Hector says, is this the form of champions then, when you not necessarily winning ugly, but just winning, not even winning, it's how do you phrase that? Winning professionally, I don't want to say just enough, because it's not just enough, if you know what I mean. We're scoring goals, we're no conceding goals, so to speak, so it's professionally, are we being clinical? Like, I've actually wrote Kyogo clinical in my notes here, given that his actual form.
I think we've just dipped a little bit in our levels. I totally agree with Hector's analysis. We're more open at the back, without a doubt. I think, and it's nothing to do with the personnel. I think there's some tweaks and there's little things. Hector and I talk, and we'll talk about the semi-final. The really obvious thing that Kelly did to us the week before was to force us to play on the side where we're arguably weaker. If you put that triangle together, fullback, centre half, and midfielder that you would go through. So by pushing the traffic down the left, and cutting off that channel, like leaving Starfelt with a ball just to come walking out, and the knowledge that he doesn't really have that break pass, he doesn't have that through the line, he doesn't have that ability. But then that's not the type of player he is. I don't know what it is around. Our attacking intent still looks brilliant when it clicks, but again, maybe we just set a bar really, really high. So I think there's scope for improvement also. I think the new personnel, I've liked the look of Kobayashi. I think it gives balance that doesn't exist. So now you're into a scenario, is it Carter Vickers and Kobayashi? Is that you're starting to? Because you've got right side and left side, both with the ability to carry the ball and pass. Bernabei, Jury's still out, still a young boy, still learning, so I wouldn't be too harsh on him. Johnson looks great, so we've got cover now from other things we'll talk about later in the podcast. So I'm delighted with where we are. The irony is our nearest challenger has also exhibited championship form since the turn of the break in the World Cup. So they've got their bound of having a new manager. So it's as well we're not grinding out results, we're in control, but we could definitely be better.
Right. So I didn't invest in my notes, but seeing as we brought it up, Starfelt, right? And I know, Hector, you have voiced a few concerns once or twice.
All for the greater good of Celtic Football Club, Desi.
Anti-Scandinavian bias.
God bless Henrik Larsson.
No, as Monty said there, we've got Kobayashi's come in, playing the left-hand side of a central pairing. You assume that he's going to be the guy to partner up with Cameron Carter-Vickers, especially now we can cross over into the transfers. Jens is looking like a way. We'll be interested to see what happens with actual Welsh now, if that means he's going to stay. But, so you assume it's going to be Kobayashi and Carter-Vickers. But Carter-Vickers was injured, so Kobayashi came in and played these 2 games, did perfectly well. I thought it was actually a good introduction against St Mirren, because they're a really robust physical team and quite a big across the shooters team, so it was a good introduction rather than just an easy summer friendly, if you know what I mean. It was actually one of the shitey cold nights at Park Eden, it's off and tumble, but he handled it fine. But Starfelt, right, I was having this discussion with the guy I go to the football with. Do you think it's fair, given the fact that Starfelt's a centre half and his prime job in life before he came to an Ange Celtic was clear your lines? And now he's suddenly getting told, play in a position which isn't even your natural position in the centre pairing, playing the left, he was playing on the left, and then get told, your job now is to bring that ball 35 yards. So, and we just assume that's an easy thing. You're a professional footballer, that's an easy thing. But if your main job for years has been protect your goal line, can you suddenly turn it on to start attacking the opponent's goal line?
So if you rewind it, and I totally get your point, but rewind it to when Starfelt and a plethora of other players came in. When Ange came in, the middle of June, remember the Eddie Howe chase and all that fiasco, and we were down to the bare bones. And I think Starfelt was saying something ridiculous like Friday night.
Yeah.
And he made his debut at Tynecastle. Sunday, I think it was the Sunday afternoon or Sunday, I can't remember, Sunday lunchtime. He was thrown into deep end, him and many others, by the way. Kyogo comes as a sub, did he not? The last 10 minutes just off the plane for Japan. But, so I think at that point, Ange needed players in. Just needed bodies, and ideally ones that they'd probably no doubt looked at scouting reports and data, but one who could defend, experience, whatever. But your point's right. He's probably come in one to defend, but how Ange's team plays, we can all see it, how he plays. The centre backs are vital in how he plays. And when they're vital, it's getting the ball for Hart, and even Hart's coming out a little bit higher up this season. Not as high as he was right at the start of the season, almost the fucking halfway line. Thankfully, he's stepped back now to almost his penalty box, but there's a triangle there between the three, the keeper and the two centre halves. But back to Monty's point, what's happening is teams, if they do their job, they pinpoint areas of weakness. Not saying that areas are shite, but just areas that's quite not as good as other areas. Common sense, isn't it? And it was noticeable Bernabei coming in for Taylor and Starfelt for about 2 or 3 games on that side. That was weaker than the other side. That's just the fact. I'm not saying they're shite, it's just slightly weaker. So by targeting them, giving them the ball, it would slow us down a wee bit. And also Bernabei's not played much alongside. So that lack of understanding is probably not quite there as well. But to answer your point, Celtic evolve, and that's maybe why this young centre-half's come in, it's that he's more a football player. And Carter Vickers ticks the box as both a football player and a rock-solid defender. So maybe that's the future. Maybe come the summer, they become the centre-halves that take it forward. And the Starfelt thing, it's not, believe it or not, being overly critical on him. It's just how we play, sometimes it can just slow down with the ball at his feet. As a defender, I would give the guy a lot of credit. I think defensively he's done really well this season. I think he's 1-on-1 situations. He's cut out a lot of the mistakes. He wins most of the balls in there as well. He probably wins by far most of his 50-50s. It's just sometimes we cannot see it. There's a mistake there. Even against, was it St Mirren? A better team would probably have punished us. And that was probably the only mistake the guy made. But it was a massive mistake against a better team. We'll probably end up a goal down. And that's the things. That's the wee things.
I think that, Hector, is the levels thing that you opened with, that you're spot on about. The concentration levels don't need to be as intense as they needed to be in the first half of the season. And it's very, very difficult to keep that. You can't run the engine at 100 all the time. And I think there's a natural tailing off of mental sort of, your mental focus when you're not being challenged. Celtic system, ironically, for a player like Starfelt, is a very, very difficult system for them to play. It's not just the fact that they keep the ball on the ground and knock it about and he's expected to do that. They're not really, it's the Duffy conundrum. Shane Duffy, as a stopper, is an excellent stopper. He was just a fucking square peg in a round hole for us in hindsight. Because we have the ball most of the time. So it's concentration, positional play. And I actually think Ange likes Starfelt. You know what I mean? Like he didn't hesitate in putting him in the minute he was half fit, which is a counter then to maybe he just didn't see that Jens was going to make it. It's also a counter to Welsh not being at the level. So it's a hard one. The balance is obviously important. And Kobayashi's still a young boy as well, 22, 23.
Was I didn't think he's that old. I thought he was maybe 21.
He could be right, Des. He could even be 21. So a young boy. Right age profile, beside Carter Vickers, who's now been blooded. Carter Vickers 24, 25. Yeah. We've got a cracking nucleus there. But just to get to those levels again of concentration and performance, it's very, very hard to maintain, but it's in us. And I think there's more improvement there.
And by the way, Desi, just order, and it's important, I think Starfelt merits praise. This isn't a pile-on. I think defensively this season, since he came back after injury, I actually think his defending's been really, really good, really strong. But it's how we play, because we tend to have possession domestically far more than opposition. Far more, maybe 70%.
Yeah.
And because everything builds for the back, that role for how we play is kind of vital. But it's not just all with him and Bernabei. Let's be blunt about this. Our overall flow, midfield, it's just not quite hit.
Just a wee bit clunky. It's just a wee bit clunky at the moment.
That even ties into like kind of what I mean. Like we've got our WhatsApp group now. Like we came back for the game, the Murn game last week, and we were like, you and I had been at it. You've been pinging some nice goals or whatever, and I was like, also some nice wee triangles were starting to appear again, and some nice overlaps and one touches, whereas we've been taking 2 and 3 and getting across. So again, it's maybe just they're finding each other on the pitch again, rather than, so it's starting to get a bit settled. Jota's kind of coming back, Abada's kind of coming back, and you're starting to see a wee bit more presence. You know, that sort of way. And then weirdly, we've just crossed over the topics, but Juranovic playing against St Mirren last week on the other side, and I'm going, that guy's leaving, why are we even playing? But he was bombing up and down that pitch all night, he was living it, and he was really, really good. You know, when you're going, that's the sort of wee things we were missing, that kind of taking a guy away, leaving a bit of space for the winger to cut inside, all the kind of things that they do.
So there's a question for you just on that, and just as you were talking, it's came to mind. I'm going to throw this out there. Is that maybe why we're just not firing all cylinders? Because there's maybe a bit of uncertainty with the squad? Because if Ange being so ruthless as he is, that Juranovic, we can't give you what you want, so you're going. All on good terms, by the way. Ange's comments were glowing with praise of the guy. He just said it as it is. He'll do well, we'll do well. Can't blame the guy. Giakoumakis going to be moving on. So, but guys who have been integral to the last season or so, with such a tight squad, is it possible there's a wee bit of uncertainty during this month with the window being open, and maybe that impacts, I don't know, some of the players? I don't know, maybe.
Well, no, it's a good point. Before I get Monty, Kobayashi's 22.
22, thank you. So again, Bernabei 21, Kobayashi 22, Carter Vickers 24, Johnson's the old man of that, 24, 25.
No, he's
Johnson's 23 as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's young. Yeah, he's young.
Yeah. So you look at that. If you can keep that settled, and obviously bring Tierney back for left back next season, but that's the correct age profile for everything that Ange wanted to build for the second go at European football. Our midfield carries a similar age profile, with the exception of Cal Mack, including. And by the way, I know we'll talk about it. I really like the look of Iwata when he came on. I know it's only Morton, it's only a cup, but to have the balls to be barking at people and pointing and telling people where to get to, and you're only in the door.
He's literally
literally Peter Grant on his debut. So I like the fact that he has that bit of gal, bit of balls about him. But our age profile is really, really good. And to your point, Hector, these guys are coming in wanting to be here. And we've talked on a few podcasts about the profile that Postecoglou signs. Tend to sign players who've either got something to prove or who really want to be here to push on. And I think that is maybe, you're right, if you're playing, but you're not quite sure, you're not in and out. Like Turnbull's a perfect example of it. Turnbull arguably should start before Hattadi, but when Hattadi has a game and he's on his game, you understand why he doesn't. And similarly, the O'Reilly conundrum with Moy. So that interchange is new to them all, I would argue. I would say the notion that you're not going to start every game is something they all have to get used to. Along with the fact that if you want to go, the door's there, lad. There's fucking no problem.
Is there maybe too many changes? Is there maybe too much squad rotation at times higher up the pitch?
But if it's about the system and interchangeability, then realistically,
it should be. Players build relationships in terms of by playing a number of games together. You'll get to know when player A is going to be. I know they do patterns. They'll do patterns all the time in training. I get that. But there's also that other understanding of guys in your area where you'll shout a comment or man on or overlap. There'll be that. You'll take time in games to build that understanding. I'm just throwing things out there. And by the way, this isn't a downer. We're in a strong position. And all we're seeing is, in this strong position, but we're also honest about it, there's a wee bit more to come. We can all see that. And I think it will come pretty soon. But it's just lacking just now.
That settled 11 concept, you can see how the pivot on the right-hand side, when it's Carter Vickers playing with Juranovic/Johnson, who's been brilliant in a couple of games, that pivot around on that side of the pitch to include if it's Abada in front of them or if it's Jota in front of them, you can see the effectiveness of that. It looks so much more fluid. Where on our left-hand side, it just looks more clunky. And there's an argument that a contributor to that is the changes. A contributor to that is the fact that Starfelt isn't as comfortable on the ball as Carter Vickers. Equally, the left-hand side, Bernabeu is not as comfortable as Taylor. So you've all of these variables, I think, but this is far from a gripe. It's just when you see it, you know that there's more in it, and it's how wonderfully spoiled we are at the minute, how good we are as an entertaining team.
Yeah, again, it's unusual for us to watch a Celtic team in transition, mid-successful season. You know what I mean? Rather than wait till a manager comes in and rescues you, kind of idea. But it was interesting just hearing you mention there, like Hatate, Hector. Like, we see all these people, like, they put up the stats, and like, loads of people have been putting up things about Turnbull, right? And Monty, you mentioned it there, like, there's a good argument for Turnbull starting. Like, the last 2 games, comes on as a sub and scores 2 crackers idea. But, Hector, you're a great man for voicing the eye test on Twitter. And, like, you watch Hatate, and Hatate's like the buzz bomb of the Celtic team. I know he's maybe 3 or 4 times a game. But the actual effort that guy, and the nuisance factor and the class that guy's got, like, that ball for Kyogo going on it, there's only a few special individuals that can do that. You have to just put your hands up and say, he goes in the team regardless of how successful Matt O'Reilly or Turnbull can. Matt O'Reilly can be with 10 passes, he'll get 9 of them. But you'll only see that one special moment. Hatate might see, you know what I mean?
Hatate's a risky. He's a player who takes risks because the manager wants him to take risks. Right? So he could do the simple thing. He could do the Barry Ferguson, God bless him, square pass, and whatever, right? And get 10 out of 10. But his game's not to do that. His game's to turn every chance you get and go thread down the needle with a pass. And thread down the needle might be 6 times out of 10. But Ange wants him to do that because he's got the ability to do it. I'll take you back to Real Madrid game at Celtic Park. Took the throw. I think it was Juranovic took the throw. Next we were you, Desi, and we're shooting up towards the far end. And Hatate turned the throw for Juranovic and hit a half volley. Was it 50 yards to Jota on his toe? And we almost scored from that.
I nearly dropped my one sandwich.
Nobody else in our team could do that. Nobody else in our team could do that. But it's a risky approach, and that's fine. Turnbull, blah blah blah, and score goals. It's great. No, you're not comparing, like for like here. Hatate's a level above Turnbull. I was hoping for far more from Turnbull. Hopefully over his injury, because he seems like a good player, a kind of decent guy as well. He just had a bit of a ceiling, and I just hope, because players can still, as we all know through experience, players can take a jump again. I just hope that come this summer, he's really got to take that jump. He's really got to grasp it. Otherwise, I'm afraid to say he's going to have to.
Well, he's 18 months left on his contract. I think we might have an option for an extra year with him. I suspect he might be one that'll go, but it's the goal threat that he gives.
He scores a lot of goals in midfield.
No, Ange is also a big fan. Ange says he's lifting his eyes, he's not going anywhere, so to speak. But as you say, Monty, it could be the hard football reality. Turnbull suddenly sees, wait a minute, I get to the summer, I've got a year left. I'll wait 6 months, or else it goes and does like an Armstrong. This slides away down to a Bournemouth.
And what use is it him getting 15 minutes? Right, most games, 10 minutes. You can start against Monty at home in the Scottish Cup. Let's be honest about that. That's what it is. But for the big games, he doesn't win some games.
No, this is what I was 10 minutes. He's starting to morph into this current team's logic, I think. He's no kind of, as you say, Hector, he's no kicked on, and he doesn't seem to have developed the physical side whereby he's robust enough to like win a lot of the balls and then get up like, not like Hatate's. Even Maeda's like robust and they get stuck in and then they charge on 10 yards with the ball. Turnbull seems to be more of a get it and turn and I know he's really good shot-wise, etc., but he's just not got that full impact about him. You know what I mean?
And then we'll turn it around, because you mentioned him. We'll turn it around in its head. Look at Maeda. Maeda took a lot of criticism from the start of the season, right? Came in last January, settled in, did okay. Start of the season, wasn't great. It was okay, wasn't great. Since he came back from the World Cup, he's just leapt on a couple of levels. He's arguably been our best player since he's come back. So it just shows you things can change quite quickly. A lot of it with confidence. He's come back from the World Cup probably in a high. And scored a couple of goals and all that.
And do you know why that is? Do you know why that is? Do you know what Maeda cites that as? The main factor.
Harry
Kewell's coaching. He says he's never had as good a coach on a one-to-one basis as Harry Kewell. He thinks Harry Kewell's taught him. Yep, he says thinks Harry Kewell's taught him about approaching football. So again, Maeda was taking the world on his shoulders and trying too hard, etc. Kewell's put the arm on his shoulder, gave him a wee instruction, and again, i.e., pause, look up, that sort of idea. It's no 90 mile an hour all the time, that kind of Billy Liz football. And then he's gradually you can see he's taking that onto his game, even when he's been playing centre forward the last few games when they've been bringing Kyogo off. He's definitely showing like a really good World Cup, made a really good impact, I think. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people went for him maybe in the summer, but he's really kicked on his race to Hector, which is great to see. Sorry, apologies, but it's amazing how quickly the Celtic fans suddenly, your confidence, you feel the Celtic fans' confidence in him now. Like you went there and it was a big applause and everybody's happy, whereas before people were kind of, he'll just hit it high and wide, or these things.
Well, let's go back 3 months, right, or whatever. If we were to ask the question now, who was to start wide left this weekend? Jota or Maeda? You go back 2 months, probably unanimous Jota. Now you go, you know what? Maybe play Jota on the right. You know what I mean? Whereas, that is such a good thing. My only concern I've got is, but Giakoumakis looks as if he's definitely off, right? Looks as if the young South Korean striker, is going to come in. He's in Glasgow just now, right? So it looks as if that's pretty much a done deal. That's my concern, because the guy's 21, coming in for South Korea, season probably finished a wee while ago. He's going to take a bit of time to settle in. What happens if Kyogo gets an injury? Who steps in?
I have a funny feeling Giakoumakis is going to be with us until the summer. I just don't think that there's a deal there that suits him. If you look at it, there's been and by the way, I read some bananas thing today, and it's just obviously to do with the man's age. Bournemouth have agreed a 20-point-something million deal for a striker from Villarreal who scored 3 goals in 24 games this season. 20 million. And the only thing is, he's 21 or 22 years of age. So, I don't think, for whatever reason, Giakoumakis isn't attracting the sort of club that his record and what we can see with our own eyes would suggest should be coming for him. Like, he's a proven goal scorer, goal every 2 games for us, top goal scorer in Holland. He's available on the cheap. Like, what the fuck?
He's a great plan B as well. I get why teams wouldn't have him as a plan A, right? Because the way teams play nowadays, right? He's a great guy to come off the bench to mix things up. You know what I mean? It's that counter to having the ball at your feet, a bit of pace. He gives you a physical presence. And I think it was worth his weight in gold. In fact, let's be blunt, in my opinion. Kyogo was out for 3 months with his hamstring, 3 to 4 months. Without Giakoumakis, we might not have won the league the way we did last year.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
The counter to that is, right, and it's a shame Ralph is known, because I know Ralph has covered this in the diary about all the speculation and the fact that we've been told Giakoumakis is a perfectly good teammate. He gets on perfectly well. Everybody gets on fine with him. It's not as if he's like a temperamental Dutch striker. Took a strop when he's down tools. He's not even going through the emotions. He's doing his job and turning up for work and all that. But you can see him kind of going, right, hold on, what's happening here? And again, like, why did we get him so cheap when he was the highest goal scorer? And now, why is he moving on? Is there this like a wee history, a trait there? Agents, they don't know what it was, but I'd be surprised, Monty, if he is still there, because I don't know what benefit it would be for us to keep him, other than emergency basis. I mean, like
Poyet mentioned.
pull
Gus
him off a
Poyet
hill.
mentioned. Yeah, Gus Poyet is the Greek manager, and he was interviewed about. He mentioned it in an interview he did either yesterday or the day before, and he said Giakoumakis is just simply at a point in his career he wants to play more, and at the minute he's not getting enough minutes. As far as Poyet was concerned, he'll remain no matter what. He's in the squad. He's one of their top players, and he likes him, and therefore no danger. But he did mention something along like, you know, his next move has to be it's an important move for him. So if his choices, or at least his reported choices, are to go to Greece, to go to Japan, or go to the United States, that's a huge departure from what the guy's career has been to date. His entire career has been in Europe. And granted, we're the biggest club he's ever played for. And I'm not just saying that because it's by a long stretch. So to disappear off the European footballing radar, you know, for a few extra quid, you know, if the guy's got a half decent agent, he speaks really good English, Giakoumakis. He speaks fluent English. There's money an hour down the road. So unless the family just simply don't like the weather or don't like the surrounds, why is his agent not hawking him to Championship and lower level EPL clubs? Somebody pointed out, Everton can't buy a goal. Everton are fucking horrific in the box. The English Premiership is a league that a number 9, a big physical number 9 is becoming trendy again. They're all looking for one. Like you look at Veghorst,
Is that Big Dumpling?
Yeah, big fucking Dumpling.
What's the guy that's joined Nottingham Forest from?
Oh, yeah. Another one. But my point, Desi, is that these are guys arguably of an equal ability to Giakoumakis without anywhere near his goal scoring record.
Mm-hmm.
So if his agent's fucking half decent, you should be hawking him to everybody from position 10 down in the Premier League to the bottom of the Championship. Somebody would take your arm off that goal scoring record. So there's something just not right. But I don't know. Money talks at the end of the day, Desi.
Something very strange, but this come back to something you also touched on there, Hector, regards the rotation up front, stability, blah, blah, blah. I was astounded at that Morton game, touching exactly what you said. If something happens, if Giakoumakis did leave and this Korean boy takes time to settle, we're looking at Kyogo with a stand-in of Maeda through the middle as your centre-forward. Yeah. Why the hell would Ange decide to play the two of them from the start against Morton? I just couldn't understand that.
No, I couldn't understand why he started Juranovic when Bernabei needs games.
Yeah.
The guy just needs games to get into the flow. That's all that boy needs. There's nothing worse for these guys coming in. South America, totally different culture, language, everything. He gets a game every 6 weeks. He's got a chance to maybe get 3, 4, 5 games, and with that, hopefully comes back confidence. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why Johnston didn't start in the semi-final at Hampton. I just didn't. Yeah, sorry, I know.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, and Ange, so Ange has his own. He's done an amazing job.
I like to call it the curveball. What's the curveball this week?
He does, he kind of throws in wee things. You go, why the fuck are you doing that? The guys are leaving.
There was a quote about someone asked him why it was either for the Ibrox game or, you know, why did Bernabei not come on, or the St Mirren game. And I think he said, look, it was the Ibrox game. He said, look, I have a right back, or I have a defender who's just finished third in the World Cup on my bench. He's my go-to guy. I'm going to use him. So there was no making excuses, or there was no other context other than I'm picking him because that's what he is. So full stop. And as much as you talk about him not having favourites, I mean, there's an obvious thing there about it. Kilmarnock, and we talked about this actually before the semi-final, Hector, at Ibrox, and it was obvious from the Leipzig game. I wouldn't call it a flaw in the system. There's a part that you can target in our system, and it's that space, that inside channel in front of the fullbacks, where our inverted fullbacks tend to go into, where we push on that high. There's a ball to go there. At Ibrox, they targeted in front of what was Taylor, and then following that Juranovic, and they just put that guy Sakala or whatever you call him, just a speed merchant in front of it. Kilmarnock targeted the same type of thing because that side is perceived as being weaker. So in all of that context, do you play a kid who's going to be exposed further in Burnaby? Or do you swap a guy out, give him a farewell swan song and let him go? Our bigger problem, actually, we talk about Giakoumakis, I think our bigger problem is left back. Because Burnaby's not ready. I think he's got at least another season of development before he's ready. So we're down to Taylor. Taylor's out at the minute. It's either Burnaby or what? Juranovic is gone. What's the other option?
I'm going to put my chin on the line here and tell you I don't think Burnaby will be at Celtic next year. Because judging by what I've heard, it's a case of he's not getting the games, Hector, because like you're saying, game experience, play more games. He's just not taking it in. He doesn't know what he's meant to do, so to speak, and he can't follow Ange's instructions on the pitch. So he finds himself. But again, it took Greg Taylor a year to get him. Obviously, I'm just relaying what I've been told. But that way, time is a factor. For another 3 million, we can move on and we've discussed this, Monty, we can get a 5'10" left back who's got your mobility. You know what I mean? The physicality. You see Johnson's physicality across the back now. Suddenly your left backs are looking a bit small fry.
But the one thing we all agree on here with Ange is Ange is ruthless.
Yeah.
So there's no, well, hold on, we'll keep him there for the next 12 months just in case. He'll make decisions, when he's made a decision, that's it. So he may have already told the scouting department or whatever to make him available come the summer months. I'm just speculating here, right? But what we do know from Ange's actions is it's ruthless, right? I've got to make decisions. He's made it clear again last weekend. You'll get some favourites within the club. I'm not obviously talking about Burnaby here, I'm talking about Juranovic and Giakoumakis. With the greater good of the club, the greater good of the player as well, they've got to move so they can benefit and I can benefit because I've got to keep improving the club. And you mentioned Jens. Looks as if Jens is going back to Germany next day or two. Just that's him. And I love the fact he's like that. He's always looking to evolve and push, and it keeps players on their toes. Keeps players on their toes all the time, and I think that's a great trait. And I'm going to get back to, because obviously for my younger time with Celtic, Billy McNeil was probably the first. Jock's team was there, but I was really young, probably yourself, Desi. But the Big Billy was the first one I really remember as week to week Celtic manager. But having read the Jock Stein books and obviously read to my dad years ago talking about it, Stein was ruthless. Mm-hmm. Highly successful as we all know, but ruthless. To guys who had won everything. Off you go, I'm selling you, cheerio. And they'd won with fucking 5 leagues and scored this, I've done that. No, I need to keep evolving the squad. I've got this quality street gang coming through. Then one by one he would sell them. And I'm just wondering, Ange didn't have any chance last season to spend time with the Celtic B team. Last season it's so much to do with this first team and with getting everything in place with coaching staff and style of play and delegation for the first team, sports science. But he's come out for the first time a few times this season, mentioned the B team. And Darren Day and Steve McManus are running that team. And he said he's put a lot of time and effort in this year. And he's actually mentioned them specifically a few times now. I'm wondering if he's got his eyes on 2 or 3 then to come through as a conveyor belt now. Rocco Vatas went to the squad, Lawal's went to the squad. He mentioned the young defender, Daniel Anderson, was it?
Is that the young boy that signed his contract?
Aye. And Ange said, I expect him to be in the first team squad. I'm wondering if Ange is replicating that, he's going to say, I need to create space for these guys coming through.
Maybe you missed the quote, Hector, but he also said, and this is back to some of Desi's sort of, more, not cynical. Cynical's the wrong word, but the pragmatist, the realist view of the manager's position as well. He also said, he says, like the B team, we're developing some really good players down there. But, and I quote the man, he says, but we're also developing some excellent coaches there too. So you're into the notion of everything, succession, who'll pick up the mantle. What's the B team for? It's for developing coaching as much as it's for developing players. So we have we'll see the fruits of this next year, I guess. And if there's 2 or 3 that can come in and it saves the club a few million, it's a good thing to at least start giving kids a chance as well, does it?
Yeah, well, Matthew Anderson is a left back, so that could be interesting.
So here we go, just because throwing things about. The boy signs a new contract. I think he's the captain, or has been the captain of the team, right? And Ange's got is saying, I expect him to be in the first team squad. He named the kid. So, putting two and two together, there's your left back, Desi.
Yep, so there we go. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. So where are we? So yes. So what else did I have in my thoughts about this as you were talking there? So I'm interested, so Johnson's come in. It was interesting seeing the physicality last week. It's at Murray, Kobayashi coming in too, and you kind of go, right, starting to you're starting to get Carter Vickers, the wall at the back to come back, so to speak. And then Taylor coming in at your steady left back until maybe this young boy comes through. Goalkeeper wise, do you think Joe Hart will start next year? I was just thinking back to that Rangers, because we were totally in control, Hector, as you mentioned at Ibrox, and then Joe had that mad stutter, and that suddenly awoke the crowd, and then we seemed to kind of step back a little bit from being on the front foot, I thought. Do you think Ange will look to say, well, maybe time, and then I'm going to bring that to you, Monty, you can consider this, Connor Hazard. Is there a reason you think he's never going to make it at Celtic? Because I always assumed he might have went away to Finland and come back and been the next in line.
Just not good enough, Desi. Just not good enough. No.
I think with Joe Hart, every keeper makes mistakes. Every single keeper on the planet makes mistakes.
Sorry. No, 2 seconds. So apologies. Compare his mistakes to Starfield's mistakes, because they're unwarranted, as in there's no need for them to happen, if you know what I mean. Hart stays 10 seconds rather than release. You know what I'm trying to say, as in, it's
the thing being a keeper, but if you make a mistake, you're the last line.
Yeah.
If you're a defender, you at least have got another defender or a keeper behind you to get you out of that trouble. Right? But I think with Joe Hart, he doesn't make many mistakes. And for some reason I've noticed this, especially online, you know how fans move about from player to player. My Ada was getting it. Hugo got it a wee while ago. Hugo got it about 2 months ago. Yep. Not good enough, and geez, my brain piece, will you? And now Hart appears to be, there's like a group, Hart makes a mistake, they'll jump on it, and it's as if they move the target, the fans.
Do you know what I mean?
Sorry, Desi, I'm not picking you, by the way.
Just to echo your point, do you remember Jake the Snake used to always say Celtic fans were only happy when it rains? I mean, you've got to have something to complain about. That's when we're at our best.
And Hart, I mean, it was the game against the St Mirren. Made two incredible saves.
I am not down trying.
Hart's age, just the obvious question of his age is, we've got to be forward planning. Is the guy who we brought in from the United, is that his successor? I don't know. I've not seen enough of him to know. I think Bain's going to be in the way out. I don't see signing a keeper to come in as number 3, to be happy as number 3. So we'll have to forward plan.
That's a young boy.
We sent that young English fella over to Cork City for first team football. So he's gone out on loan to get first team football experience. He is apparently really, really highly rated. Hart thinks that he's going to make it as well. So I think you're right, Hector. I think we gave Bain a 5-year contract 2 years ago.
Yeah.
In fact, we might even give him it when Ange just came in the door, just to keep him about. I think Bain's happy just to be part of the squad. He knows that it'll be infrequent that he'll ever be called on. So he's there. It doesn't cost a lot, obviously. This kid looks like he's got a chance to make it, which in turn moves Hazard out of the way, because the kid's obviously technically better than Hazard. So it's a weird position for us, because you look at our last 3 starting keepers, Boric, Gordon, and Joe Hart. We've been fucking blessed to get
Fraser Forster,
excuse me, as well. They are all international goalkeepers, and top international goalkeepers as well. So we've always managed to crack that nut. It's such a shame it was O'Neill's blind spot. If we'd had a decent keeper and not Rob the Brady, we might have done some other things.
Speaking of which, Big Rob Douglas appearing 50 years of age in the cup today. Did he
get a game?
That was his squad number 2, 50.
Good man himself. But no, I think we're all right there for the next year.
Do you think we'll start next season then? This a throwaway.
I do.
Yes. If you were to give me a £10 bet, Desi, I would say yes.
Okay, Desi bet, right. So I just think that Ange's ruthlessness, and then just me mistakes like that against Rangers, that I think is avoidable. If he could, see if he just clears the ball, then it's a total.
I agree with you. I should have just cleared the ball, but I wouldn't go overboard. No, you're Desi, you're definitely going overboard.
Right, so, there's a question, right, because, like, even if you start to think. So then, if we move on to transfer window, right, so we've already good results for so many points clear. Transfer window, right, we'll just go quickly through them and then we can ascertain where we are and where we think we're going, right? So, out, JJ away to Union Berlin, somewhere around about €7 million or whatever, maybe go to 10, but we're not going to start playing that money ball here. GG up there, we still don't know. Jens away as far as we know, possibly to Schalke. Ideguchi, Hazard and Abelgard, apparently they're trying to get loan deals for them to get them away from the squad. Scott Robertson, young boy, joined Brunei down in Fleetwood. I don't know, and then Monty's mentioning the young keeper there. And so we'll get the Korean boys due to sign. We'll get Tomoki Awata, who's came on, who was the player of the year in the J-League, no less.
Monty already thinks he's going to be the best midfielder he's probably in the last 30, 40 years.
Apparently. He's learning the Japanese.
After 15 minutes against Morton.
And also,
I'm telling you, watch this space. There's a player in there.
He's already had 2 games. And then, of course, we had Rocco Vata making his debut and Bosun Lowell making his debut. So, do you think anybody else will come in before the end of the week, Hector?
Yes, I do. I think we need more than one striker in. Because I'm going to put all our hopes in this young 21-year-old guy from South Korea. He'll need time to bet. He's probably one for the summer, this guy.
Right. So the last 3 strikers you purchased: Giacomakis, Maeda, Kyogo. Every one of them hit the ground running, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Kyogo came in the summer. Giacomakis came in the summer. And he didn't hit the ground running, Giacomakis. In fact, he was... but his first couple of games, he couldn't miss a penalty last minute against, was it Livingston? He struggled the first few months, then he got injured. I don't know. I just think, I think the way Ange works, he tends to get players in to bring them through for a few months, the younger ones, to be ready for a few months' time. I think we need another striker in. If Giacomakis goes, I hope Monty's right. I don't think you are, Monty. I think all the signs are that Giacomakis is getting sold. But that, for me, is what I would like to do. Keep Giacomakis, move him on perhaps in the summer, and allow the opportunity just to bed in the next months.
So Monty, knowing Postecoglou, does that mean is going to start up in Tannadice this weekend?
Put him straight in the minute he gets off the
field. Well, I did the samba, on you go, son.
It's a great name as well, isn't it? I mean, the songbook, if the boy's good, the songbook's immense, isn't it?
Surely it's going to be Oh Your Magic.
I think Father, why?
Here, I know we floated it on the WhatsApp group, or I did anyway, but if Kevin Nisbet only has 18 months left on his contract, I'd take Nisbet at the drop of a hat.
How much would you pay for him?
I'd pay $3 to $4 million for him.
Really? He had £4 million.
Well, they wouldn't take it because they're Hibs and they're miserable bastards and they don't want to do deals with us.
But you can go to Holland and get another Giacomakis for $2.
No, he's the outlier. If you went to Holland and tried to buy I think he's just an outlier for whatever reason. You try to buy the Dutch top scorer. Well, there you go, Bournemouth. 20.3 million for a guy.
You're talking about outliers. The English Premier League is the only outlier in this whole transfer. No one else is spending a penny.
Oh, it's only Chelsea that's spending it all, right? It's one club that's really spending it all, isn't it? See, the Nisbet one's interesting. And this is not really from me. It was Ange. Because there was a heavy bit of speculation with Nisbet. Was it last summer?
Yeah.
And I mean, the talks had taken place with Celtic and Hibs. So there's definitely Ange must rate him to some degree. Whether he rates him as much as the guys he's now looking at, I don't know. But Ange clearly rates him to a degree, right?
He's a good Celtic man, good Trinity boy, good Rutherglen Trinity secondary school boy. So,
proven.
But again, what about then if you went the other side and went for your Lon Shankland?
No.
Shankland, yeah.
No.
Proven.
No.
Did he score a penalty for you?
No.
proven. But I think Nisbet's work rate, if you look at Nisbet works his balls off. Shanklin's more of that sniffer poacher.
Weirdly, especially with what's happened, one of the players I've really enjoyed watching, and I don't watch many games by Celtic, is the boy who plays for Aberdeen. Is it Duke?
Duke, the winger. Yep.
I mean, this you're talking about work rate there. I actually like the look of him, but obviously he's been tarred with a really bad brush the state Aberdeen are in, but for work rate, etc.
Here's another one. I didn't realise this until this week. It was Kyogo's birthday. He's 28.
Yeah.
28.
He's the oldest.
I don't know why. In my head, I thought 26.
No.
28. So
28.
There's forward planning there.
That's exactly. My age, I think I had Tati there, 24. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're young. Yeah, Kyogo's the old man. So again, that would be interesting to see if suddenly he starts getting touted in the summer. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, obviously you don't want these people to leave. I'm just
no, but that's a definite. That's going to happen. It's got to happen. He's 28. I was really surprised he was 28. I don't know why I had in my head he was 26.
As Monty mentioned there, like teams in England can't buy a goal, and that's teams trying to win things and teams trying to avoid relegation who've got money to buy. Surely they must notice Kyogo's form and his ability. I mean, it's not as if he's just tapping them in for 6 yards or whatever. His all-round play is unbelievable.
But I think there's an arrogance. There's an arrogance on the level that is Scottish football.
But who's
arrogant?
Who's the boy from Brighton? Mitimoto or Minimoto or he's been playing out his skin the other day. So I was just thinking that might be a prompt recently. Suddenly they go, anyone else in this radar?
But remember, how Kyogo plays though, how he played in Japan, and probably one of the reasons Ange brought him in, he plays a style that suits his game, is to press and work the front line. I don't know if being the counter-attacking defensive team, and the teams at the bottom tend to look like that. So my thinking was this, rather than a team down there who's fighting relegation, what's the point? I think the German League or something would probably help how Kyogo's street. So if he was to move, I think the Bundesliga, because their style of play, most teams tend to play that high press, and I think it would suit him if he does move.
I thought one of the Iberian leagues, either Spain or Portugal, and he's not going to make a lot of money in Portugal, but that the way he plays the game, that slippiness, that movement that he has, that acceleration in tight space, suits the technical game in Spain, because he's such an intelligent runner as well. I got a chance to, properly watch him over the last couple of games, but just when we were talking about it before the semi-final, just really, really interested in getting to watch him in the flesh.
The eye test is incredible.
His movement is so fast and blink of an eye stuff. It's just fucking hell. You couldn't mark it. And even, I know it's only Morton, but you look at his second goal, that ball dropped him, and he's one touch, and it was lashed in the back in it. There's no movement. It was just one fluid thing. And he'd be a nightmare to mark. He works his arse off. But then, if he's doing that in isolation, he'll just look like a busy fool. He'd have to be playing in a team that plays a system that is a press. So you're right, Hector. There's a fit of a player to a team. And, Ange has always said that he wanted two different types of players in each position so you can chop and change a bit. So us having Maeda and Kyogo would be a bit of a risk, because then all you've got is the small, nippy, sharp guy. You don't have, but whatchamacallit? Oh is 6'1", the young Korean fella. I watched a couple of clips and read a few things about him. He did a really selfless thing, actually. I don't know if you picked it up in the World Cup. He was the standby player if the guy from Spurs, Son, didn't make it. So he travelled with the squad to give Son every opportunity to prove himself fit, which he did basically in the last couple of days before the World Cup. So that young fella basically took one for the team, wasn't part of the World Cup squad, but they kept him in Qatar. He trained with him as if he was part of the squad. He was on the pitch with him the whole way. And then there was a story did the rounds. They all got $100,000 bonus for participating, a FIFA bonus for being a player at the World Cup. The story that did the rounds was that the Spurs player had donated his to O. And he came out and says, no, that was bollocks. He says, what O did was he gave me a load of advice and steer and guidance that I'm eternally grateful for. So mentality, a team, genuine, legitimate team player. And that guy Son from Spurs also came out and said probably the most important player we had there at that tournament. Not just blowing smoke up his arse. But A, he's the future, but B, that's what you want in a team. Someone who'll sacrifice himself for a team. You're back into that mentality again. Yeah, you're back into that mentality again.
Oh, yeah. So just thinking ahead, sorry, Monty, just Desi can ask me, but and we're starting to see new pieces fall into the jigsaw or for the team for next summer, for next season, right? And that's if they all progress, and hopefully Ange's success rate has been fucking pretty spot on so far, has to be said, right? Yeah. So if you're looking at Joe Hart as things stand, or whoever comes in, right? Johnson is your right back. Taylor will probably start left back. Let's see on that one, but there's maybe a question mark if we're still progressing. It looks as if it's going to be Carter Vickers, all being well, is your number one centre back. Who's the other Japanese kid? It's left centre back. Awata's the number 6. If and he's Japanese player of the year, he's dynamic, he's a leader, he's 100 mile an hour in a more defensive, getting the ball back situation than passing on. Calmac moves 1-on-1, which is my preference anyway, with Rio. Yeah. So Calmac and Rio suddenly are sitting on top of him, and then you've got Hyogo through the middle, Jota, Maeda. I mean, there's pace and movement there, isn't there?
So where does the World Cup sensation of Aaron Moy go then? You got
Matt O'Reilly.
A great squad player. He'll get lots of game time.
At the moment,
I'm talking about the first 11 want to hit Europe if they're all fit. Well, Moy will get game time. He'll get lots of games. He'll get next year. Next year.
What about O'Reilly?
He's took a wee dip. I think.
But again, only 21 years of age to be expected.
Yeah.
Aye, right. So, because I pinged this the other day, like, if we talk about the midfield, so you're looking at, like, any three from, realistically, 6 or 7, you've got Maeda, Calmac, Moy, O'Reilly, Turnbull, Iwata. So again, and they're all interchangeable, realistically. I mean, they can all do 2 or 3 things each.
James McCarthy, never mentioned James McCarthy there.
Exactly. I didn't know. Is he even in the squad nowadays? I don't even think he's
injured. He's injured, but he's not making a squad.
I think he even makes the top 20 anymore. I think he's literally just go and find yourself a club in MLS to be built on.
I think Rocco Vata's going to come into the first team squad next season. That looks a certainty. Because he went to Australia, played him games there, made his debut the other week. And I watched him in the flesh, and he stood like a sore thumb. Like a sore thumb. He hugged the left touchline, but he just had that presence about him. He took the ball right or left foot. And see that first 5 yards to take the touch and stick a bullet. And I thought he stood out. So he's going to have to come in. I wonder if Jamesy moves out. I'm thinking ahead to next summer. The evolution of the squad. And do you know what? That's the way you want to do it, isn't it? You want to get 1 or 2 internal youngins coming through who have got the ability. The boy Daniel Anderson, by the looks is going to come into the first team squad. Will Lawal, the centre back, will he take Jensi's place and come in to the squad?
Or as I say, we mentioned earlier on, Stephen Welsh, is he get a feature?
I think he's going to be moving on.
After this window. He's staying for this window and then he'll move on in the summer. If Jens is away, unless they bring somebody else in. But I was just looking there, because I'm thinking to myself there, you've got Maeda and Moy, so that, you've got Maeda and Moy, you've got Calmac and Iwata, and then you've got O'Reilly and Turnbull. I mean, so you can pick any of the...
Hattari?
2. No, I said
Hattari.
Oh, no, I wrote Maeda and said Hattati, sorry, forget Maeda. I meant Hattati. So you've got Hattati and Moy, or Hattati with a Moy backup, so to speak. Calmac and Iwata can fight it out, and then you've got O'Reilly and Turnbull can play that suave, debonair, attacking, have a shot for 30 yards every now and again. So that's not a bad permutation of options. Yep. Only question is the striker idea. Right, so that's not bad. And again, if they can find some space for Vata even in the cups, and then towards the end of the season, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? That would be nice. Yeah. So what else have we got? So that's where we are. So we're currently top of the league. We've advanced in both of the cups, so we're doing all right there. We've got a cup final to look forward to at Hampden. So I hit this for you, Monty. I know you're very much the man for current affairs. I was reading today, apparently, the doomsday clock tonight has been set at 90 seconds to midnight. The closest
it's ever been. Yep.
Do you think that's due to the Beale factor?
I think it's like a new signing for them. You're 90 seconds closer to midnight, and when the clock strikes midnight, it could be the death knell for Rangers Mark II. We had a really, really insightful piece actually into their figures at the weekend, and ironically, it wasn't Phil or any of those that put it up. And it was a delve into the whole financial fair play, or this new legislation that Chelsea have worked out the loophole to allow them to spaff billions by giving a player an 8-year contract. It allows you to amortise over 8 years, which keeps you inside the window of losses.
We call that the James McCarthy deal.
Yeah. The James McCarthy deal.
Jim McLean was ahead of his time, wasn't he? Jim McLean.
But the thing is, the restrictions that are on them in terms of an operating model, they have to shed money, they have to shed cost. Otherwise, they're going to be fined, or they're not going to be banned from European football. So you have a whole, there's a fucking doomsday reality. Like, I seen Juve got docked 15 points for match fixing.
Was it match fixing? Was it? It was the capitalisation. It was cash this time.
Was it? So the cash.
Napoli are also on the sites apparently. Due to the listed 6 transfers. One guy's transfer apparently has got 6 connotations. I can't remember who it was, but Napoli on the site. So Hector, get the place ready.
And PSG, by the way, PSG haven't spent any big money in any players because they were named on that list by UEFA last summer. Yeah. There was 10 clubs, but 10 clubs named: PSG, Juventus, and the Huns were also mentioned as well.
Huns were on it. Yeah. So doomsday for them could well be a lot closer than you perceive. There's a whole, like, we're a well-run ship. Again, with the reported Juranovic fee, Ange's net spend, someone pointed out, is 2.3 million or something like that since he came in 18 months ago. When you take his outgoings and his incomes, he spent 2.3 million over basically 4 windows now, which is just fucking phenomenal when you think about it. It's how well we're run. We've obviously, our wage structure is in a good place. So we're far from doomsday.
So let's talk about Ange then, Desi. You've raised it a couple of times. For folk who don't know, we've got a kind of WhatsApp chat that isn't half the planet, no doubt. And we talk about players coming in, players coming out. And Des, you mentioned a couple of times potential clubs in England in particular who may see Ange as a way forward for them, right? So what's your thought process?
I had a really good Twitter conversation. If anybody's looking to follow us on Twitter, it's at eTimsNet. I had a really good Twitter conversation the other day when we started speculating in regards to the whole what will happen, because it was West Ham were playing Everton, 2 of the prime contenders for the manager getting sacked. This was Saturday, so I was putting in Leicester also. They've been talking about Rodgers being on a shaky peg. So it was a case of I was tweeting saying the leading contenders currently are West Ham and Everton. Then West Ham scored. They eventually win 2-0. Moyes looks safe. Leicester seem to be doing okay, then get pegged back. But then suddenly Everton. So you get Frank Lampard, and I said, surely if you're an Everton, Ange has to be at least on your desk somewhere. That name must be known. And a lot of people could again, we've had quite robust conversations about, you guys don't see it ever happening, like Ange.
No.
I'm not putting words in your mouth, so to speak, but we've got this game, whereas I think Ange would be very pragmatic and he would listen to any offers to go to the EPL. I think, especially, and then he came out with the Juranovic farewell speech, which was, as you say, totally complimentary. He's been great guy in the dressing room, really enjoyed working with him, wish him all the best. He's gone to play, he wants to play at the highest level. Like us all, we want to test ourselves against the best where possible. Mm-hmm. And I said, he could be talking about himself there. And I'm not wishing Ange. I obviously don't want Ange to go. I'm just, as Monty said, I'm being Mr. Pragmatic. I honestly feel if an EPL team came in, he would seriously consider it. He's got a young
especially after Rodgers. What happened recently with Rodgers? We've all got to be. Let's not hide from it.
Yep.
Because Rodgers, people of our age in particular should have known better, but we all bought into Rodgers.
Yeah.
Once bitten, twice shy kind of thing. So you're right. It's something we should be Cobham, right?
And again, this is because so I was having a good chat with inside the SPL and Twitter, and he put up some counter arguments about he couldn't see people in the EPL looking at a near 6-year-old manager who'd had major success. And I was saying, well, Klopp's 55, there's Lopetegui at Wolves, he's 56, I think. And then Everton today have been linked with Bielsa, who's
67
kind of thing.
And you know who Everton's plan B is? Everton's plan B is Big Sam.
Right, well, I like something. But then I was
also Big Sam's the favourite for the Cardiff job, by the way.
Then I said, well, you'd have to consider the possible domino effect of if you're in Everton, if you've got any brains at Everton, which clearly they don't have, you'd have to be looking at somebody like Thomas Franks at Brentford, right? A guy who's come in and built a team and done a really good job. I know they've already tried it with Silver, but you go for it. And then I thought, well, if they get him for Brentford, chances are Brentford would then turn around and say, right, we're looking for a modern thinking guy who can build a team. And a team like Brentford could come in for Ange. And in our mind, that's far too wee. But it's a good base club in the EPL who play good football, have good players, and have a very sound foundation for a new manager getting into, rather than an erratic Everton. So that way. So there's loads of the way the pennies could fall or whatever.
So Monty, so just on our chat, so Monty had a hairy fit, as we call it in this part of the world, right? He was actually saying never. He actually sounded a bit like the good old Dr. Reverend Mr. Paisley when you never.
No,
so
sir.
What was your counter to it, Monty? Why could you not see Ange go right? I think more so about this particular moment in time.
I think there's only two clubs he would go for mid-flight in the project. One of them's Liverpool, the other one's Real Madrid. He's not getting the Madrid job anytime soon. Klopp is at quite a significant crossroads now. Genuinely, Klopp has built a team, an outstanding team, achieved with an outstanding team, and he's now at a restart. Klopp is 7 years in that job now. Perfect cultural fit. 7, yeah. Perfect cultural fit for Klopp and a perfect cultural fit for Ange as well. When you look at the fact, similar to us and how he's bought it.
Could you see him realistically getting offered the Liverpool job? Let's be honest about it.
I know you certainly couldn't see him getting offered the Celtic job. I recall your initial explosion on it. And
I did see him getting offered it. I just was surprised we went for an unknown.
But that's the thing. He's not. Sorry, Desi. He's not an unknown. He's an unknown until you take the arrogance of the EPL off your blinkers. He's won championships.
But you've got to apply that.
Right. So if you apply that, then if you look at that, Thomas Frank would never have got a job with Brentford. Ralph Hasenhüttl would never.
Brentford's not Liverpool. Brentford's
So no, let me work my way up. Hasenhüttl would never have got a job in Southampton. Frank Lampard would never in a month of fucking Sundays have been given Chelsea job.
Come on, Monty, you're referencing teams in the bottom 6 of the EPL compared to Liverpool.
No, I just moved to
football.
Nuno Espirito Santo would never have got the Spurs job. Arteta would never have got the Arsenal job. These are unknown quantities who've been given a big job in England. Arteta was a known quantity.
Arteta's a big one. Arteta's been groomed by Pep Guardiola for years at Man City. I actually championed him to get the Celtic job years ago, if you remember. I thought he was a possible contender. It took him a good while at Arsenal, but they built into a project at Arsenal.
Exactly. That's my point, Derek. It's a project that has the culturally fit.
What has Postecoglou done to justify that at Liverpool, do you think?
If you look at what he's done to us, because that's a complete rebuild in 18 to 24.
But what's he done? He's won the league and he's won the League Cup in Scotland. He's not done anything in Europe. He's got I'm being totally pragmatic. I'm Mr. Liverpool.
So what had Klopp done before joining? What had Klopp done before joining?
He won the league with Borussia Dortmund.
Right. And what else?
Munich.
He lost the Champions League final to Bayern Munich. Didn't he got the final of the Champions League?
No, but he won the league against them, didn't he? He won the league.
No. No, he lost the Champions League final to Bayern Munich. Like, check it out, Desi. I could be wrong, but my point is, an Ancelotti, for example. Look at Ancelotti at Everton. Ancelotti was a failure at Everton, if you measure it in those terms.
He got him 10th in the league when he left.
But yeah, 10th in the league. Is that the level of your ambition if you're Postecoglou? When you've won something everywhere you've ever been, when you've built legacies and built cultures and built a playing style of football that requires a particular type of club and requires a bit of patience as well.
So hold on, can I turn this back a wee bit, right? Hold on a second. But your argument was you couldn't see him leaving Celtic, right?
Unless it was for Liverpool or Madrid.
Aye. So what we're saying is realistic that's not going to happen. So what you're saying is when Everton approaches, or a West Ham approaches, you think he'll say no?
They tell him to fuck off. No, absolutely. Tell him to fuck off.
And what's your logic behind that? What's your logic behind that?
I think he's here for at least another 2 years to complete the project. And by complete the project, what I mean is succession planning all the way through the ranks, B team, the first team will be in place. The style of football, the ethos, the mechanisms, the training, everything else that Rodgers, by the way, did. The problem is Rodgers gutted the place when he left. Postecoglou came here on his own. Whatever it's going to be, Postecoglou won't be looking to bring Kennedy or Darren O'Dea or Stephen McManus or be coming back up to take effectively the fucking sports science department either. He's building things. He's building something to leave behind. And in that world, if that's what you've done everywhere you've been, which it is, you don't leave mid-flight unless you win the lottery, unless it's the one that you say, I fucking gotta take this. There is nothing.
So what does the lottery mean? Desi, you've got your hand up, but just on the lottery question, right? So I'm guessing. Go with me here, guessing, right? Ange's salary. I'm guessing £1 million a year at Celtic.
Gotta be.
Right.
Gotta be.
Right. If he was offered a job at, let's say West Ham, does that go from 1 million to 5 million?
Easy.
Is it as much as 5 million?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It does not. Davy Moyes is not on 5 million a year. I will fucking guarantee you. Davy Moyes he'd be on somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million a year. Maximum.
I think that's crazy. If you might like the Brendan Rodgers edict of the manager is always the most important player at the club.
I'm telling you, because I'm doing this podcast on my phone, so I can't look things. Do me a favour. Do me a favour, sorry, man, I'm shouting.
I'm doing it just now.
Google David, because I can't do it on my phone.
I'll also tell you, Jurgen Klopp won the Bundesliga 2, right? Then he went to Dortmund and won the Bundesliga twice, 2 years in a row, won 2 cups, and got to the Champions League twice. He did the highest equivalent run in the Bundesliga of victories, of 26 victories in a row. So I think
he had domestic success in Germany over a period of how many years?
Moyes is in £4 million a year at West Ham.
Yeah.
£4 million a year. That's
so that's what 80 grand a week say. That sounds about right. You imagine the crazy money somebody like Rodgers and that must be on. Apparently they can't pay Rodgers off less than 10 million. That's why.
So my view is I don't see it, and I hope it's not the heart over on the head. I don't see Ange going to a team like an Everton right now for a number of reasons. One, it's a clusterfuck, and they're pretty much guaranteed. I think he needs to get in and incorporate his style and his training mechanism, and I don't think you do that a week to go in the January transfer window with a team who's in a horrible position. Right, he might get some quick change, but I don't think he's a smart cookie. I think for him to go, I consider other clubs, but it doesn't make sense. I think for him, he might go, if he goes, it'll be the summer. I don't see him doing a Rodgers with us. Again, I hope that's not the heart rule on the head here, right? He will go too early. It's whether it's this summer or the following summer. But what Celtic's got to be doing this time, the people that run Celtic, is succession planning that we didn't do with Rodgers. We're caught in the back foot with him, right? And I don't blame him completely for that, because what he did was what he did. We got Ange from one of the Man City group of clubs, which I even hate the fact of fucking saying that, right? About 10 clubs around the world. He worked with a Lowell, son of all people, Mark Lowell, who was heading up one one of the departments in Man City. So I think for us, and Mark Law now being at Celtic, heading up sort of scouting and all that part of the club, we've got to be looking to other managers within that Man City group of clubs who are similar to Ange in terms of style of play, in terms of ethos and thinking. Because Man City's whether you hate them or love them, they're a well-oiled machine. And within that machine, everything will go at clockwork most of the time, including their choice of managers around these clubs in the world. I think we look there next. We should be looking there right now.
If you extend that further, he's done everything at Celtic without bringing in any of his guys. Kuhl is the exception. Kuhl's the only hire that he's made on the coaching staff. He has brought in sports scientists to build a sports scientist function. They typically don't leave with the manager in the way that they did where Rodgers brought them all with him and took them with him. So we now have a very, very different model, Hector. I think we would be looking for a manager in the truest sense of a manager. That it's not a head coach. It's not someone turning up with a new blueprint. It's not someone turning up with a new playing style. What we have now, I believe he will build structures and functions behind that when he does leave, there'll be continuity of it. And I don't think it was an accident that he mentioned the fact that we're developing coaches at the B team as well. I don't believe that wasn't just a throwaway remark. That's succession planning coming to life. So now you're into a world of, well, who would that be? Who fits that mold? Who fits that profile? Remember the other guy, Enzo Marescana, we were linked with?
Man City. B team.
Man City group. He took a Serie B job and got sacked after 3 months. So it didn't work out for him. Remember, we were heavily linked with him as well. If you look at the likes of, I'm trying to think of another manager who goes in on their own, doesn't bring a team with him, and turns something around or applies himself. Ancelotti does it. Ancelotti, pure top tier. Ancelotti doesn't bring staff with him. He does it. Benitez did it. Ironically, both of them went to Everton and it was a clusterfuck. There's very, very few people who do what Ange does. Klopp isn't one of them, by the way. Klopp brought his own guys, but Klopp lost his own guys as well. Remember his number 2, Tito or something like that? He really, really well thought of. He fucking left a year and a half ago from Liverpool. And it's coinciding with Liverpool starting the tank. So, I know. Desi, if I'm talking myself out of my position at this stage.
No, right. I've got two wee last points on this. Obviously, we don't want it to happen, but that's not one of the points. But obviously, we need to want it to happen. But harsh reality, a professional footballer, we'll just have to see. One of my points was going to be, Monty, do we think Yokohama believed Ange was had a project, and then Ange asked to go and talk to Celtic? You know what I mean? When Celtic came into Japan and said...
What had he? Did he have 3 years at Yokohama or 2.5?
He had, 2017, so 4 year.
4 year.
Project complete. He won the league in 2019, and then he was away 18 months later.
So project complete. Kevin Muscat's come in, took over, won the league this year with him.
Project complete. Don't forget, he's also in a 12-month rolling contract, your classic 12-month rolling contract. And then
that's a misnomer. Sorry, because I have to say it. That's a misnomer. It's not a 12-month rolling contract that means that he gets to the last month of his contract and he's only got a month left. Yeah. It means that the minimum compensation he gets on is 12 months.
So it was a year. Rodgers signed a 5-year deal.
Rodgers signed exactly the same deal with Rodgers until we put him on a 5-year, knowing that he's going to do a flip. So all it is if we ever sack him, the maximum he gets is a year's old.
I'm just saying that. So again, but we've not got that. I don't think there's that security blanket. We'll wait and see. And
also, will he be here this summer? Will Ange for the Celtic match?
That was my joke about. We always talk about Ange's second season when teams kick on, but nobody ever talks about Ange's third season and things. So I would say it's 50-50, but I was going to say to you, Hector.
You get £10 bet, Desi. Ange for the Celtic manager this summer. Get off the fence.
No, just bring it back to you were saying regards to a team that would suit. To bring it right back to your beloved Bielsa, Leeds. Leeds would be a perfect fit for Ange when you think about it.
You're desperate for the Ange, aren't you? You're desperate for the
Why do you hate Australian people so much, Desi?
The fans are still mourning them. So that's what I think with that. The American guy can't catch a break, really. And I watched them. They play quite football, but they want to have that Jesse March shoot. So I was thinking would be like jail too. You know what I mean?
Let me take the moderator's sort of microphone off Hector just for a second and ask you two. Do you both think that Ange would be a really good poster boy for the yes referendum in 2024? For your indie ref?
What are you drinking? What are you drinking just now?
Who exactly is having a 2024 referendum? Because I can guarantee you'll be
fuck, that's us. Sorry, I keep getting them mixed up. That's us. No. Sorry, you are after us.
So see if Ange does leave, Desi, you've actually answered. You've actually gave a great name there. Yeah. If and when he does, he will at some point. Of course he will, right? Bielsa, be a great fit for Celtic.
But again, it's still 70. So anyway, right. So even that brings us back. This brings us closely to we're closing to our final subject. A potential talked about possible future Celtic manager a wee while back was a guy who was doing really well, a good friend of Monty's, the man with the most inappropriate name in Scottish football, Monty, James Goodwin, surely formerly of Aberdeen. I've not seen the most recent headlines. Were you shocked? I think Hector actually watched that game last night. Were you shocked?
I was, I gotta be honest, but then if you look at it all, you stack it all up, I don't think it's as conspiracy. I don't think there's a conspiracy the way other people might think. When a manager loses a dressing room, when players down the tools, they either down the tools because they don't like him, or they're down tools because they haven't a fucking clue what to do. He's lost them. I think it's the latter. Goodwin doesn't come across as an arrogant prick. His players seem to genuinely like him. I think they're just confused. But I mentioned it in the WhatsApp. They were 5 minutes away from taking a point off us with an absolutely solid defensive display until Cal Mack scored that first game back after the World Cup. They had a completely inexplicable collapse against the Huns in the last 2 minutes of injury time. They give away 2. And I think that team hasn't recovered from that. It's a bit like Dundee United with, what did you call that other guy who was linked with the Celtic show for a while? Jack Ross. Remember they beat the Dutch team? They beat them, fucking tanked them at Tannadice. You're thinking, Jesus, they're onto something. They go away from home, get beat 9-0 and they can't recover. So you kind of feel for them because you don't come back from that. I can't think in any other cup competition of a shock when there's that disparity in the leagues. Well, there's 6 divisions below Aberdeen. Six divisions below.
6 tiers, yeah.
And 6 tiers. And they're arguably the third or the fourth team in the SPFL at the minute. So there's something really wrong there. You got to feel for him because.
By the way, Darvel deserved to win. I watched most of that game, and Darvel. But just for those who won't be aware with Darvel, Darvel have got one of the biggest budgets. The guy who owns the club has spent a fortune at that level. So although they are tier 6, they've probably spent a lot more than teams in Scottish, maybe 3rd tier. Yeah, right. So they've invested a fortune. The guy who came off the bench from them last night was at St Mirren, off the Darvel bench, right? So that kind of shows you. Yeah, listen, it's still fantastic, but they're not like a wee corner shop club, right?
You gotta feel for Goodwin. It's because he's in that same clusterfuck of a club in the way we were talking about Everton as well. Like them getting rid of McInnes was madness. Them getting rid of Glass the way they did was madness. You can't build a club in a year or 2 years. You can't build a culture in a year. Hibs do the same.
They've got a lot of similarities, Hibs and Aberdeen. And I was thinking about that the other day. Maloney was let go pretty quickly. Jack Ross was let go. I don't know why they let him go, Hibs, because he got him to the final and they're sitting at 3rd in the league. You've got to get to the point where you keep making changes, and like any new manager comes in, what does a new manager want to do? He'll assess the players that's there, but invariably he'll want to make changes. So you've got this never-ending circle, I suppose, of change. Whereas at some point you've got to just make a good call and say, I'm going to stick by it within reason. And what I mean by within reason, if your team's down at relegation position, that's an exception. So if you're top 6, you've got to build something.
Aberdeen will finish top 6, and let's be if you take the emotion out of it, the likelihood of Aberdeen winning the Scottish Cup this year is very low. The likelihood of them winning the League Cup mean, they took the Huns to extra time, and apart from a really stupid thing from their captain, they're toe-to-toe. So the Cups are their best bet of getting a 50-50 shot at something. They're never going to win the league. They're just simply not, until there's another revolution in football. So finishing in the top 4 for Aberdeen is a good season. They've had a complete aberration here. They're in a period of fucking absolute torture. If Goodwin still has the players with him and he can strip it back to basics, if you're Cormac, you stick. But it's such an embarrassing result. It's hard to understand how the fans will even accept, like, any minor issue now is going to be amplified. The guy's career is potentially fucked here off the back of one result. So,
well, the fans were all shouting, "Get to fuck." You heard them all singing at the end of the game. And when the fans turn at that point, that invariably means.
Did you see the training ground sheet with this saying "clueless cunts" on it? Somebody posted it. But Monty, just to put the cherry on top, like, from that Celtic game, 1-0 defeat with Celtic, 3-2 defeat with Rangers, a 3-1 defeat by St Mirren, 2-1 defeat by Kilmarnock, 2-0 with Ross County at home, 2-0 win over St Johnstone, 2-1 defeat to Rangers, 5-0 defeat to Hearts. So that's your gauge into it. Hearts is their gauge that's looking at, and then a 1-0 defeat. So that, again, they've got Hibs this weekend, and Hibs are a bad lot too, but it's not looking good.
I tell you, Hearts look good at the minute, Desi. Hearts look like they've fucking really solidified, and they've got a wee bit of a bite about them as well. And I think we have them at home next. We go to them after the split, if I'm not mistaken. Our next game against Hearts is at home. I think the Huns go to them in a couple of weeks. So, yeah,
well, they'll collapse then. Hearts and Rangers, first of February. Hearts and Rangers, 1st of February. So that's
there'll be a few.
So on you go.
I was going to say there's going to be a few wee quirks, I think, before the end of the season. You know, we're not firing on all cylinders, but we're still in control. They're grinding out results and matching us, and have been since their new manager came in. Cup final will tell a tale. All that guy will do is build a system to attack us. That's what he'll be paid to do, because it's what he spent 4 years doing with Gerrard, until eventually they did, or 3 anyway. So it'll be interesting to see the cup final, especially if they sort the Hampden pitch out. Just on that, by the way, that was possibly the fucking coldest game of football I've ever had to experience in my life.
People can't see it, but he's still wrapped up in a continental quilt while he's doing that.
Fucking same Lemsip's I'm on, it has me thinking that the fucking Scottish Indie ref is in 2024. Hampden actually, it was actually a good day out. I enjoyed Hector's company, and we put the world to rights in the afternoon, especially cheering on Man United, drinking cocktails.
Oh, that's right. Your second team.
Second team. Man.
It's his first team. Don't say anything.
I'd forgotten just how poor a stadium Hampden was. You know, as a national stadium or as a venue, you're so far fucking away from the pitch. And those were good seats, by the way, Hector. Thank you. But you're still so far away from it that it loses so much in atmosphere that you hope there'll be a wee bit of foresight there, and maybe they'll look to build again.
Shambles. Absolute shambles.
Not good. Yeah. But anyway, hopefully.
My daughter and her now fiance came in from the game. That happened just before the game. I got told, I was warned before, but it happened in the weekend. They came in, and it was Hector, you'll know this look well. The pink fingers, but the white inside. You're that cold. Your inside, your fingers goes all that way. Morgan had that look about her totally frozen. Just sitting with a cup of tea. Didn't even want to drink. Just a cup of tea. Try to get the circulation going again. The classic. Right, so okay, to wrap up. So we think that we may have another striker coming in along with O from Korea. Welcome to him. We think Giacomakis is away. We think Jens is away. Hopefully we see Bata and Lowell get promoted a wee bit more. The cup final, we're confident. Everybody, I'm assuming we're confident we can take them at Hampden on that shitty pitch. Everyone being fit. Touch wood.
I think always is the cup finals with them. Well, just go back to last year, the Scottish Cup semi when they beat us, right? You know, and by the end of it, they deserved to beat us. They were the stronger team getting the extra time. So I would never say we're guaranteed anything. But if we play how we can play, we should win.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables there, right?
Yeah, and then again, I just view the cup's a bonus. And one of the good things, Monty, is we have a higher number of games at home now than we do away.
That's right, yes.
I think it's like 6-3 or 6-4 or something like that. So that should be an advantage. I think we're unbeaten. We're unbeaten for 2 years or whatever recently.
How many games are left? About 15 or something left, is there, in the league season? I think it's about 15.
22, so what would that leave? Maybe
16 to go, 38 games.
16 games. Yeah. So, yeah, you'd expect us to keep going. And, you know, as we were talking about earlier, the fact we're clicking a wee bit better now. Pick up that wee bit of form going in the next couple of weeks would be nice. Pick up a trophy would be lovely. Mm-hmm. And just set that marker again for the, get a wee run the Scottish Cup too. So, look, it's very churlish of us to find fault at the minute. We're spoiled rotten. But then we've been spoiled rotten for over a decade.
Especially if you've not been drinking too much in January, as you claim not to have been, and then you suddenly start remembering the drinking you were doing with Hector 2 weeks ago. Allowed it in January. So that just leaves me to conclude to say thank you to everyone for listening. Before it was going to be a celebration of the last 9 results, but I don't know what road we kind of took a turn in there. So it'll be interesting to see how we come out of the window, hopefully stronger than we went in, or at least robust when we come out of it. Thanks very much for listening as always. Please try and catch Ralph's diary at etims.net, Ralph's Daily Diary. You can catch us on Twitter at @etimsnet. If you don't follow us, please do so. If you've anything to say, please let us know if you've enjoyed the podcast or any recommendations. Contact us at etims.contact@gmail.com. And just like for me to say thank you to the guys for joining me tonight. Thank you, Hector.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you, Monty.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks very much, everyone. My name's Desmond. Good night.